morning everybody, Ian Chapman here. Today I am going to paint a picture, or film painting a picture from start to finish. So what I'll be doing is I've actually put the base down or the background down and drawn on the canvas what I want to paint, which is something I talked about in the previous videos regarding some of the illustrations I had done in my sketchbook. So today I am going to start the painting, and I will basically do a quick time movie through that initial process, and periodically I will stop and I will just give a little bit of a talk about what I'm doing next and how the process and methods I'm using to create some of the effects. So that will happen throughout the video, so stay tuned, and hopefully we will have a bit of fun together. Bye. Morning everybody. So today I'm going to be painting the face of the cartoon character here. I'm going to use my pretty standard palette colours, which would be the Van Dyke Brown, Payne's Grey, White, Yellow Ochre and the Nickel Azo Gold. And so I probably will be doing the face and the space helmet as well. The costume here is going to be somewhat like a Harlequin costume. Well, it's actually a spacesuit, but it's going to have kind of diamonds on it in a Harlequin sort of way. And he's going to have kind of candy stripe arms. So that's something that's going to happen over the next day or so. But this little lesson here is just purely about creating the cartoon character's face. I'm using my stock standard number 2 brush. Just I don't know what make it is. I think I got this on Paper Plus. So it's a pretty common sort of brush, not particularly expensive, about $6 or $7. So the first thing I tend to do is, because I've got quite a strong background down there, I am going to paint over the face in white. So he's going to have, that area there is going to be the white, and his ears and his kind of crown, it's very much like a Mickey Mouse sort of character. Might have to do some redrawing as I go with this one. Very often as I'm painting, things start standing out that don't look like they're going to work. So I just there's little buck teeth there. I think I'll have I don't think he'll have an open mouth. I could just do that to create a line, and maybe there's going to have a line there of black. Anyway, we'll get to that in a bit. So this is just a standard titanium white, golden paints, so that's the liquid acrylics. Works really well, flows really nicely. So it's a bit of an odd angle to paint at here, so I can just get the camera in there so I can see what I'm doing. This is just the base colour. I'm going to add a little bit of the yellow ochre into the colour in a minute. Which will just lift the colour a little bit, and yellow ochre and white does tend to make it glow. And it's funny because yellow ochre is quite a dull yellow. It's not a colour that I particularly like when it's just standing there on the shelf, but when it is mixed with white, it does tend to pop really quite significantly. So periodically I will also be whipping out the old hairdryer, so I rush things through because, you know, I've got no patience. and it is very good to acrylics will dry, especially these liquid acrylics. They dry really quickly. It's a bit of a problem in summer when they do dry so fast, and you've got to work extremely fast so that you're not wasting them as they're drying on your palette. He's looking quite a sad character, so I don't know about that at the moment. That's not with the droopy eyes, so I might just lift those a little bit. And I'm going to make the mouth smiley as well, but that can come later on. He's looking quite intense, so lower the nose down a bit, make his face up, just smooth those off a bit. That's he's making him look a little happier. I just put a line of burnt umber in there, just to indicate where the smile will be. I keep saying burnt umber, it's Van Dyke brown. Burnt umber is a little bit lighter, a little bit redder than the Van Dyke brown. So there we are, and just a quick around the eye. I'm going to come back and redo these as well, because they will need strengthening up as I build up the colours. And so now I'm going to just quickly do the ears and the interior of the ears. So the ears, I mean, it's a painting, I can do whatever I like with them, so the ears are just kind of coming through the glass of the helmet. They don't need to have any reason or a hole in the helmet, it's just what happens. I could create, maybe I could create a little bit of, actually make the ears a little bit thinner, and the glass of the helmet goes around. Yeah, that'll be quite cool actually. See what I mean by adapting as you go. Painting shall evolve. So, and I quite like that idea. So all this chalk will come off. I can just wash it off a little bit later on. So it will just creates an indication where the lines are going to go, but it's easy to come off. So I'm just going to blast this with the hairdryer. And it takes no time at all to dry. So now I'm going to do a second coat with a little bit of yellow ochre in the white. Put it on there so you can see. I don't know if you can see that I'm mixing it on there. I'll just double check so you can see. Yeah, you can just about see if I put it on there. Yeah, okay. So just mixing that in there, and I'm just going to go over that. Just makes it a little bit warmer, and I will have to probably do another coat. It's like painting a wall, you know, you're never going to just get away with doing one coat. You normally have to do 2 or 3 depending on the quality of the paint, and obviously the way you lay it down, which here I've just laid it down quite roughly. Now, so underneath this kind of top lip area there is going to be slightly darker, so I've just added a little bit more yellow ochre. And that's going to be blended in. Just going to create a little bit of tone to the painting. And also you've got to decide where the light's coming from. I always tend to have a front-on light source, so you'll notice with this one here, the light's kind of all down the middle. There's light spots here, and I just find that a lot easier. I mean, you can add light wherever you want, go from different angles and create different effects. But the thing I like about it makes a difference if you say doing a landscape and then you put something in, like a realistic landscape, and you're putting, say, I don't know, a horse in there or something, and the lights completely different. So you had the light source from the right hand side of the painting for the landscape, and then you put the horse in, and you're putting it in the light coming from the left hand side. It's just going to look really odd. So you just got to be really careful with that. But when it comes to these surreal paintings, you can get away with blooming murder. If you want to put light sources coming from all angles, you can do so. I just have fun with it. I'm just going to go. So there's going to be a black outline around these ears, because the white bit is actually the inner ear of the rabbit creature. So I'm getting a little bit happy with the tone now. So I'm going to now come back with pure white and put that in the eyes. And just as I'm doing this, I'm thinking about what sort of eyes I want to put in there, because I like the kind of realistic eyes. It does give it a little bit more life, but sometimes those kind of cartoony pie-eyed things are really quite effective as well. And if you noticed, that eye is bigger than that one. It really doesn't make too much difference, but it's going to bug me. I just know it is, so I'm going to do something about that now. So I'm going to just bring in that a bit. And then I'll have to do another coat over that in a little bit later on. And I'm going to put the teeth in, so they're going to be pure white at the moment. I'll put some tone in there a little bit later. So he's going to have 2 little buck teeth. Give them a bit of a gap. So I'll come back and redraw some of those edges a little bit later with a finer brush. At the moment it's kind of just blocking in, but it's just also having getting your ideas a little bit more formulated. So when I'm just going to draw that back in there a little bit better, that's better. So I think I probably will do a realistic looking eyes. But at the moment, so now I'm going to do the skull cap, if you like, and the surround the ears. So I'm going to use Payne's Grey, which is a blue black, which is that one there. If you can see that one there. And so I'm going to just put that in there first. Right. So on this background it does almost go black, but it's a kind of nice, there's a little bit of colour in there, and it just lifts it a little bit. And that blue is fantastic. So I'm just going to actually go right around to that. And so now I'm going to go use the very tip of the brush. So nice tight point. This is probably a little bit chunky, but I'm going to get away with this, I think, if I'm careful. And if I'm not, it makes for good television. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to do some tone stuff in the middle of those ears too. He's coming along. If I've mentioned before that I've been really influenced this last year or so by an artist called Greg Crayola Simpkins. He is an amazing painter, does these highly realistic surreal paintings, pop surreal paintings with these very exaggerated cartoon character birds almost, and almost Disney characters as well. Beautifully done and incredibly intricate. He works in acrylics as well, and he started off as a graffiti artist, and now has well, he's just a world-renowned artist, very collected. And he's one of the, you know, as artists you can be inspired, and sometimes you think, oh, I wish I could paint like that. You're not going, you're going to paint like you paint, that's all you're going to do. But he's one of the artists I think, oh, I wish I could paint like that. But he's influenced me. I'm not going to paint like him. I'm going to have similar subject matters, and because they really inspire me. But at this stage, I'm going to paint like me, and that's all you can do, because there's no point trying to copy him. He's doing his own thing. But you can be inspired by artists and follow them, and there is no shame in using some of the techniques and the ideas that they have, because, as I said, it's still going to be yours. It's not going to be theirs. So now I'm starting to get a bit more form happening with the face. I'm really quite pleased with that. I'm going to bring down, I'm going to use my fine brush in a minute, so I might do that now. Sorry for banging the camera. But I'm going to just bring that, this is a 5-0, and I got this from Gordon Harris. This was an expensive brush, I think. It was, for what it is, it's only got tiny little bristles, but I've got a 10-02, which I haven't used yet. It's a little bit too fine. I wonder if I should bring that down yet. What I'm going to do is just bring this line right around. And then this one too. That noise in the background you can hear is my washing machine going. It's a front loader thing, and it sounds exactly like a jet engine when it starts spinning up. It's incredibly noisy. It shakes the blooming house to pieces, and it's not that old. So this is Payne's Grey, and I am just going over the brown, and you can see how it's darkening everything off. And I'm really quite happy with that. I'm just going to create that gap in the middle a bit more. I still haven't quite decided what I'm going to do with those eyes, but I'll get there. And I'm just going to go over this area again. And I'm going to add a bit more white. No, wait, I was thinking about putting some tone stuff in the ears, but I'm going to wait until that Payne's Grey dries off a bit more. I might just give it a good blast with the hairdryer, because what will happen is I'm going to pick up some of that and it's going to go into the white and it's going to cause problems. So give it a bit of a blast. So now this is the fun bit. I quite like this bit because I've got it basically blocked in. There's a few things I need to sort out. I'm going to just do another layer into the eyes themselves, just to keep that going, and that can dry while I'm doing other things. When I work so fast, I try, and this is probably a little more instinctive than anything else at the moment, but as I'm painting, I'm thinking about what I'm going to be doing next and what can be drying whilst I'm doing that thing. So now I've done that, let that dry, and I can come back to do the eyeballs in a little bit, but I'm going to go and get some more on the teeth, and I'm going to come back and make them a little bit rounder a little bit later on. And what I mean by rounder is because teeth aren't just straight down sharp. There's a kind of curve to them, and the kind of human teeth kind of curve around and kind of up as well. They're very odd, but rabbits, I suppose, cartoon rabbits can do what they like, really, can't they? So now I'm just going to pick up a little bit of the yellow ochre, and a little bit of the azo gold. I'm going to start putting some tone in here. And he's going to add a little bit of tone on underneath the cheekbones. Nice high cheekbones. And we can come down into there. Now, at this stage here, it's drying quite quickly, so I'm going to just use a bit of my glaze medium, the Satin Glaze liquid, a golden thing as well. Use that on the end of the brush. I haven't cleaned my brush, I've just left the colour on there, put a bit of glaze medium on there, and that will move the paint around and start softening the edges. And just put a little bit underneath there. And you can imagine in the height of summer, when this is drying so quickly, what a pain it is to try and move so fast and get it going. So now I'm just going to just darken it a little bit more too much, so I'm just going to bring that up. A little bit of white. Soften it down. Sometimes you go into a painting and you've got no idea how to do something, and my advice in that situation is just go for it and see what happens, because the worst that can happen is that you have to go over it again and start again with the canvas, and that's not a big thing, is it really, in the scheme of things. I'm just going to put a bit of tone here because I'm trying to make, I don't want this obviously cartoon characters are two-dimensional characters, but I don't want this a two-dimensional character. I want it to make it look like it's a three-dimensional character. So I'm giving him a bit of depth. Oh, I haven't done his nose yet. Oh, okay, I'll come back and do that in a sec. Bit of glaze medium just to soften the edge. And now I'm going to just put the nose in because it's bugging me now. I'm going to use the Payne's Grey and the Burnt Umber together, and that makes pretty much a black. So he's, although I've done a kind of downward slope there, I'm going to make it go up, and I can come back in a sec and put a little bit of a highlight on that. Right, so now I'm just going to go over the hairline again, because there's some of the background colour coming through, and I just want to strengthen that up a bit more. And then we're going to come in and we're going to do a little bit of tonal stuff on the inner ears. I'm still not happy with that, actually. Sometimes you just got to take a step back and look at your picture and see what's not working. So this line here is way too harsh. So I'm just going to, it's just too defined, so I just want to soften that down a bit more. And that might indicate a bit more of a mouth anyway. A bit of glaze to soften that edge. Yeah, I'm quite happy with the way he's looking. Just strengthen that line a bit more down there. Now I've just made a little bit of a mistake there because that line is a little bit too thick, so what I'm going to do is I'll just wash my brush and take the water off, and I should be able to just take that paint back. So if you work fast enough and you make a mistake, wash your brush, squeeze it between your two fingers, come back over the thing, and you can take the paint back off again. So now I'm going to just work on the teeth a little bit here because they're not working very well at all. So just sharp edge, and I'm going to create a bit of a roundness thing happening to them in a minute. So a little bit of the Payne's Grey and Burnt Umber, and just create a bit of shadow underneath. because the lip will create a shadow. And I'm going to bring that shadow down into that. And a little bit down into that. Down that edge. And down that edge. And you might have a little bit more shadow. Does he want to have a bit of yellowy teeth so he's not brushed his teeth? I could do that, I suppose. It's not very appealing though. And you've got to kind of think about your customer who's going to want to buy your painting. Will they want a rabbit on their wall with dirty yellow teeth? Probably not. Alright, so now I'll get that built clean, and now just that top lip is annoying me a little bit. It needs to have a little bit more tone in there. So I'm just going to darken that off a bit. Might add a little bit of burnt the Van Dyke Brown to the yellow ochre. Again, a bit of glaze medium. Just soften that edge a bit. So, and soften that edge a bit. It's coming along. Maybe I should just put a little bit of a line. So it's all about going back and forth, adjusting and adjusting as you see things that are not quite working. And then eventually it will just click and you think, oh, finally, it's working. So just added a bit more white there. Oh, picked up something there. Damn. Just going to soften the edge there. Okay, so a bit more tone into the ears now. So this is burnt umber and a little bit of yellow ochre. And that was a little bit too much water in that one. I didn't wipe my brush. I always have newspaper next to me, so as you can see my hand's going to the right, so I'm basically controlling what's on my brush at all times, or trying to. Sometimes you miss. So I like to create, keep my brush clean. Nothing worse than paint building up and then it going onto your canvas as you're painting. So constantly washing, constantly cleaning. And sometimes you've missed a step, like you forget to go onto the newspaper, and then you're going to get a big blob of water as I just did, and that's going to cause you problems. So now I'm going to use my fine brush. I'm just going to go over the nose again because it's a bit thin colour wise. And now I'm going to think about, I might just put another one layer into the eyes of white. So that's the second layer of blue. And I'm going to start doing some tonal stuff in a second. So first things first, I'm going to just put the iris in. That'll help out. You notice how one eye seems to be moving over a little bit further than the other. It's just a little bit of an observation I had noticed. When people do tend to look to one side, one eye seems to move, especially if they're looking at following something, then one eye will move further over than the other. I've just exaggerated it just to kind of make it a bit more cartoony. So now I'm just going to use a little bit of white and the cobalt blue again, and I'm just going to go underneath and around here. And the same with that one. Now just pick up the pure cobalt. There should be enough white on my brush to, actually I might pick a bit more. It's just kind of, usually there's enough white on your brush not to have to add more so you can blend around. But that's just a judgment call on when you're doing the thing. You're painting, you work out what your brush is holding and things like that. So I'm just going to add a little bit of Payne's Grey to this cobalt blue just to create a little bit of darkness underneath here. I'm going to go back and I'm going to just add a bit more whites and cobalt. Cobalt's an interesting colour because it kind of, more you add, more layers you add, the darker it goes. Just add a bit more. And I'm going to just add a little bit of yellow ochre and azo in here just to create a little bit of, make it look like it's a ball. So a little bit of tonal stuff happening in there. I could add actually a little bit of Van Dyke. The same in there. And add a bit of white now. It's working quite fast so it's not drying. Oh, damn. gone overboard with that one. That's okay, I can come back and I can sort that out. A little bit of white. See, that's the why, because I picked up a bit too much water on my brush and it's gathering on the top of the, above the bristles, and that's creating a pool that drips down and goes there onto your canvas. A bit more. And now I'm just going to add a little bit of white. And I'm going to soften that line a little bit underneath there. And now with that, nope, not happy with that. It's just about going back over and working until it's right. It's getting a bit better. I'm not happy with the tonal stuff happening above the eye. The kind of top eyelid would be here. It's not quite good enough. So I'll just put that back in. A bit of white and the glaze medium. And I'm going to bring that tone into here. And a bit of white. I haven't worked out whether I should put eyelashes in them. I probably will. It's got to have eyelashes, hasn't it, really? Right. Are you putting eyelashes in? And so now finally I just do a few. And that's him done, I think, for now. Just might do a little bit of a line underneath the tooth there, just to give it a bit more oomph. So, that's the head done. We'll now carry on and do the helmet and the suit, and I'll do that in the time elapse so we can just whiz through that. Okay, thanks very much. Bye.